Hello. Welcome to the show. I am your legal novice, Craven Dewitt, and I am here kicking off my first show. And on my first show, we're going to take a look at, just going to give you a breakdown here of what this particular podcast, what this show is pretty much will be about. We're going to take a look at the history of the Constitution of the United States. We're going to take a look at the different laws that came into place, the different amendments, and why. We're going to take a look at those cases that help pretty much shape the foundation of this country's legal system and brought it to where it is. We're going to take a look through history, start from the beginning, and just walk through. Now, as being a legal novice, it gives you an opportunity as well to take a look at a case. You don't have to be an attorney, you don't have to be this, that, and the other, but you can be an individual that can take a look at the laws there, take a look at the just kind of just break through, come through, and come to an understanding of a case and decide it the way you want to. Either you agree with the ruling that was given, or you have your own ruling, you have your own opinion, you have your own conclusion to the particular case, and that's what it's going to be all about. Now, first case we're going to take a look at is a case that took place in 1793. This is the first case in which the Supreme Court heard and took a look at. Now, in 1793, the case goes to Robert Farquhar, who was the owner of a particular business in which he did pass away. And then an individual, Alexander Chisholm, took over his estate. And went after the state of Georgia. He sued the state of Georgia. Now, the reason why it took place is because, we're going to have to walk through history here. But I just want to give you some of the highlights before we take a look at some of the articles and things that are out there online. But this is to kind of walk you through. So during the Revolutionary War, which began in 1777 and lasted up until 1783, the Revolutionary War was the United States against the British, against Great Britain. Now, during that time, Robert Farquhar was an individual who was going about, pretty much minding his own business. But somehow he was traveling from South Carolina. And somehow he ended up in Georgia. Now, there in Georgia, his cloth, his supplies, his business, some things that he used to function in his business was taken from him from the state of Georgia. So they commandeered his goods, commandeered some of his goods to use to fight in the Revolutionary War. Now, at the time, there was a contract that was established between the state of Georgia and Robert Farquhar that they would pay him roughly $170,000 for the goods that they used to fight in the war. But somehow, some way, he never got paid. And that's when then later on, he passed away. So in 1793, Alexander Chisholm took over the estate and he went after the state of Georgia to pay the monies in which they should have paid. And, we're going to take a look at it just as it is. Now, the U.S. Constitution, Article 3, Section 2, Clause 1, it states that an individual from a different state can sue a state. So, Alexander Chisholm of South Carolina at that time sued the state of Georgia for the money that should have been paid to the original owner of the business, Robert Farquhar. And like I said, that was in 1793. And then you fast forward 1794, 1795, it was overturned. Congress overturned the ruling. And Congress has the power to overturn rulings when they're placing an amendment in. And that brought forth the 11th Amendment. That amendment pretty much protected states from being sued by a citizen of a different state. And as I said before, the Revolutionary War created a situation where this country was in debt. The central government was in debt, the states were in debt. And the states wanted to be protected against citizens from another state being able to bring suit against them. So that's why Congress brought in the 11th Amendment. And we're just going to take a look at this case. and see if it's fair, see if it's just. Just try to look at it from both sides, understanding that the country was in debt. The country needs to protect the states and so forth. They brought forth the 11th Amendment. Taking a look at the individual, Robert Farquhar and Alexander Chisholm, who took over the state being protected at the time, at first through the Articles of Confederation. I mean, not through the Articles of Confederation, but through Article 3, Section 2, Clause 1, which allowed an individual from another state to bring suit against a state. And we're going to take a look at what's out there on the internet, information that can be looked up. You can look this up yourself and take a look at it. And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to build upon our knowledge, build upon our understanding of the U.S. Constitution by taking a look at these court cases, breaking them down, and making our own decision. That's the good thing. We get to make our own decision. We get to make our own ruling. And just to begin here, let's take a look at some different articles that I did pull up and take a look at. Let's see here. Where can we start here? Okay. Now, as we walk through history, we have to take a look at the start and just kind of bring ourselves up to speed. The first piece of Constitution was the Article of Confederation. And this would, started to bring this into existence in 1777. It actually was ratified in 1781. Now, this particular article that I pulled up, it states 10 reasons why the Articles of Confederation just didn't work for the country. Now, in my opinion, just looking over the Articles of Confederation, and as we see there, number 2, it just didn't give a good balance of power throughout the nation. Most of the power was given to the states. The states could do whatever they wanted to do with their money. The states could go forth and make trades with different countries. States were just, in the 13 states at that time, were just in total control of everything. And just thinking about that point there, even though when Alexander Chisholm placed a suit against the state of Georgia, that was in 1783. Oh, excuse me, that was in 1793. The Revolutionary War lasted from 1777 to 1783. Now, Alexander Chisholm brought this suit 10 years after the war had ended. And when you think about the beginning of something and a mentality that is shaped over the years, like the Articles of Confederation, as I stated before, was more so to give power to the states, not to individuals. It didn't even give a lot of power to the central government. The central government couldn't even levy taxes at the time. There was a lot of power within the states. And you think about in 1793, when he brought this suit, and as I stated before, he actually won because he's protected under Article 3, Section 2, Clause 1 at the time, that allowed him to bring suit. And he won. But it was overturned by Congress to protect the states again. Okay, now this was under the U.S. Constitution that we're functioning today, because the U.S. Constitution came into play in 1789. The Articles of Confederation lasted from 1781 up until 1789. But let's just take a look at some reasons why the Articles of Confederation just needed to be done away with. Our forefathers brought forth a better Constitution, something that was better for the people. And that's one thing that I like about the U.S. Constitution of 1789 up until this point. It starts out with the preamble: we the people. We the people like me, we the people like you, we the people like Robert Farquhar, we the people like Alexander Chisholm. That's what the Constitution brought in, those rights to help protect individuals like ourselves. But bouncing back to this, the Articles of Confederation. Number 2, the central government was designed to be very weak. The Articles established the United States of America as a perpetual union formed to defend the states as a group but it provided few central powers beyond that. But it didn't have an executive, official, or judicial branch at the time under the Articles of Confederation. And then, just list a couple other things here why this just wasn't the best thing to be set up. So look at number 6, the central government couldn't collect taxes to fund its operations. The Confederation relied on the voluntary efforts of the states to send tax money to the central government. Lacking funds, the central government could not maintain an effective military or back its own paper currency. Now, it was stated roughly that the state of Georgia at that time had made a contract out of their treasury, roughly $170,000 to Alexander Chisholm. They weren't able to do it. As they were stating at the time, they weren't able to do it. The government's in debt, the states are in debt as well. And they wanted to protect it. That's why they brought forth that's why the states pushed Congress to bring forth the 11th Amendment to protect the states from having to pay any debt to any other individual that could bring suit against them, a citizen of a different state. Okay, so we take a look at the Article of Confederation. Nothing's ever perfect when it starts out. Over time, it gets better. It gets better, and over time, it did get better. In 1787, when our forefathers came together in the Independence Hall and created this U.S. Constitution that we're functioning on today, I believe it gave a better balance to the government. Central government gave a better balance to states and gave it a much balanced and chance to individuals. But sometimes I believe it upholds itself, and sometimes it doesn't. I just feel like in this situation with Robert Fruquhar, Alexander Chisholm, I felt like he was done wrong. I felt like he should have won the case hands down. There should have been no overturning, no creating of the 11th Amendment. But that's only my opinion. Your opinion may be different. And that's the fun, that's the great thing that I get to do as being a legal novice. That's a great thing that you get to do as well as we continue to build and grow the show together. So we'll just take a look at this. Let's take a look at some of the things that took place here. As I stated before, we're just going to just take a look at the articles. All this information is online and it's available. So as I stated before, that Congress was able to overturn the ruling in 1793, 1794. And we'll take a look at Congress can counter Supreme Court rulings by proposing constitutional amendments. What did they propose? They proposed the 11th Amendment. So Chisholm v. Georgia, 1793, the court held that the Constitution permitted a lawsuit in federal courts against a state by a citizen of another state. States with Revolutionary War debts did not want to be vulnerable to lawsuits from creditors. They protested, prompting Congress to pass a resolution to amend the Constitution to bar suits against states. The 11th Amendment was ratified by the states in 1795. So they had to protect the state. They had to protect the states. And this seemed like, to me, that they were still operating under the old system of the Articles of Confederation, protecting the states. I believe if they were upholding the Constitution as it is today, the Constitution that was established in 1789, it'd have been for we the people. As the preamble states in the beginning, we the people. We're going to take a look at the preamble as well. But just to continue along with what took place here, the coming forth of the 11th Amendment. Okay, so as I stated, Georgia failed to pay Robert Farquhar for his goods, which included jackets that helped in the Revolutionary War, blankets that helped in the Revolutionary War, various kinds of cloth, and other supplies that also helped in the Revolutionary War. After Farquhar's death, the executive of the state, my guy, Alexander Chisholm, sued the state of Georgia to recover the debt. And it was only right for him to do so. $170,000 roughly. State of Georgia didn't have that to pay. It's very questionable to me. And also remember, we the people. And remember, he sued him in 1793. At that time, the country was operating under the U.S. Constitution and which we're operating under today. That has the preamble that says we the people. Okay. As I mentioned before, he was at his defense, Robert Fouquet's defense, Alexander Chisholm's defense, there was Article 3, Section 2. And take a better look at that. But before we jump into that, let's remember the preamble. This is defense of people like myself, people like you, people like Alexander Chisholm. This is the preamble of the Constitution to which we operate under today. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, and secure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity and to our future generations, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. We the people. It's got to be for the people. I believe that anything and everything that's done should be for the people. This is just a look back at this is how things were set up in that particular time, 1793. Everything's just on the table. The attorneys sharing one table there. So, and it's just another breakdown. It's something you can also take a look at as well. Just take a look at some of the facts and all the things that were there for this particular case. There was something that I definitely wanted to point out in this. And we can take a look into, we can go ahead and jump to, as I said, the 11th Amendment came in. The 11th Amendment says the judicial power of the United States should not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity, commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by a citizen of another state or by a citizen subjects of any foreign state. So they did this to protect the states from being sued by any other individual citizens of another state. Smart move. Protect the states. The states were, as I said, the states were in debt after the Revolutionary War. The central government was in debt. So let's not pay citizens of the other states back. But like I said, the United States got assistance throughout the war from other countries. They paid those other countries back, but they couldn't pay some citizens back. Okay. Just got sometimes got to make things make sense somehow, some way. But that's something that I do want to point out there with the 11th Amendment. There was some other information as well, something else that I saw that I wanted to bring out here, but then, there's a proof there, $170,000. $170,000, man, doesn't sound like a lot, but what can we say? The states were in debt, the country was in debt, fighting from 1777 to 1783 in the Revolutionary War with the British. This was the results of the situation at hand. So just moving right along here. I think this was something else I wanted to also have you take a look at. So just also taking a look at Article 3, Section 2. And this is what gave him the W at first until the 11th Amendment came into place. So the judicial power shall extend to all cases. All cases. It extends to all cases, giving individuals like myself an opportunity to bring suit against anyone or any state that did them wrong. And law and equity arising under this Constitution and laws of the United States and the treaties made or which shall be made under their authority to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, to all cases of admiralty, maritime jurisdiction, to controversies which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and a citizen of another state. Bingo. As I said, that's what he was standing strong on. That's what Alexander Chisholm was standing strong on when he brought his suit. But too bad. The 11th Amendment had to come in and change those things. And like I said, we're going to take a look at cases and see how it shaped things, how it pretty much built this Constitution, how it built the amendments, really built the amendments, really, the building of the amendments that had to be passed for whatever reason. And it's a classic example in this first case we're taking a look at. And the next case we'll take a look at also has something to do with the 11th Amendment. a little more clarity, a little more understanding of the 11th Amendment, because in this particular case, it only states that it would not allow a citizen of another state to sue a state. Now, when we take a look at this again in the next case, it's going to be a little more different because that's the thing that we see. An amendment is passed, the law is passed, and then there's a different case. And that's the great thing that I think I enjoy about uh, taking a look at the Constitution, taking a look at cases, the things of how, first it was one point, then you take another deeper look into it, then either that case made it an adjustment to that particular amendment or that law, or either it made that particular law stand up strong. It made it more strong, more, more, can't find the exact word for it, but I think that's the beautiful thing about law. That's why I have, I just have a passion for it, desire for it. The show came to me back in, I say roughly in 2021, at a time where I was was very stressed at work one day, went for a walk, and just came to my mind that I should start a podcast, just be, and name it Your Legal Novice. I am your legal novice, Craven Dewitt. I do enjoy just breaking down, trying to understand how things came into play when it comes to the legal side of things. And I know there's other individuals out here that'll fall upon and take a look at this show, take a look at this podcast, and hopefully it motivates you to go through and pursue your passion, and pursue your dreams. I mean, um, the legal field is always growing. I think it's great when more and more people help pursue their dreams and passion, if it's in the legal field or whatever it is. It's just going out there and pursuing it. Um, I'm still pursuing becoming an attorney and many other things, but this podcast is something that just came to me to do. It's just, I think it's a great opportunity for us to learn the Constitution, to take a look at the cases, break them down, have fun with it, and just make form our own conclusion. Come up with our own ruling. And that's pretty much. And there's one other thing. Like if we were to fast forward in time to this particular day and time, and all with all the amendments that are there and all the different things that are also playing a part, there is another amendment that I wanted to look at that I think stands out pretty well and would also, I think it would be a defense for Alexander Chisholm. I think it would have helped him along in this case. And I believe that's the 15th Amendment. Let's take a look here. This is the 15th Amendment. Might not be the 15th Amendment. But it's just as you see things evolve and things change, over time. Of course, that's 1793. 1793, we're in 2023. So it's a totally different time. But just kind of like with everything where it is today, we'll get to take a look at these cases and see, just how it also fare with some of the other amendments that have been added on. And I believe this is the amendment to which I'm looking for. I just can't get exactly what I want here to come up to take a look at. This is it. So let's see. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the protection of the laws. Now I'm thinking, fast forward, I'm just thinking of another way to add some more support to Alexander Chisholm's case. I would look at this 14th Amendment. Well, of course, it wasn't in play at that time. But if we just fast forward, I think this would come into play because you're trying to say that a citizen of another state can't file a suit against a state. I don't think that's that's you being deprived of your rights. Uh, because at first, Article 3, Section 2, Clause 1 said that the state, that the federal court would listen to any controversy between citizen or a different state. They would listen to any of those controversies. Well, I know the 11th Amendment changed that, but if I wanted to just throw another amendment out there, the 14th Amendment would pretty much say you can't deprive an individual of the laws. But that's all for this show. Until next show, until next time, take care. I'm out of here. Peace.